Hi, this is Courtney Harris, and I am a child-centered and teen life coach. And today I'm going to be talking a little bit about your child's behavior. So if you are a parent of a middle schooler or a high schooler, you are in the right place. Keep listening. And if you are seeing some behaviors with your teen or your tween that are particularly undesirable, you're in the right place. Keep listening. Today we'll talk about some new ways of viewing this behavior. So today I'm also going to start by sharing some feedback that I've received from some parents with young children, parents of teens and tweens, and what they're experiencing, and then we'll look at these pieces of feedback in a new way. So I've heard from many parents lately that their high schoolers and even their middle schoolers are giving them lots of pushback. The parents are saying straight up that they feel disrespected, disregarded, they don't feel listened to, they don't feel heard. They are feeling really down in the dumps about the way their children are treating them. So here's some direct quotes from clients that I've talked with. I don't feel heard in my own home. My teens don't value my role as their parent. They don't respect my power. My daughter can be verbally aggressive with me, and sometimes she even gets in my face. My teens think my job and my self-care are a joke. So hearing these are disrespectful, these are unkind, these are unhurtful. So if you're a parent that's feeling hurt, if you're a parent that's experienced comments like this from your children, please keep listening, because there are new ways of viewing these types of comments coming from your children. There's new ways of seeing what's going on, and I'd love to share this with you. Developmentally, children in these age ranges are searching for and trying out their power. They are testing it, they are experimenting in many places, from school to home to their social media. They're trying to form their identity, and if you've listened in before, you've heard me talk a lot about identity formation and how in this time of their lives, they are picking up different identities. They are putting different versions of themselves into the world. And these are all kind of sometimes getting mixed up or congested because they're not all in alignment. They all don't feel so true to them, right? There's like some identities that they're playing that don't feel true, that don't feel like their real self, but it's the self that they think they need to bring to the world. And so when identity formation is becoming so congested and so confusing, and of course some of this is very natural, and of course with social media this is even amplified. So during this time that is naturally confusing, there can also be a search for power. So when we are feeling like our identities are getting mixed up, we also might feel like we're losing power. So our young people might feel like they are struggling to actually find their voice, to find the places where they feel heard, and to find the places where they feel like they have choice. So I'll first start out with a story. So I have been working with a 15-year-old, and this particular 15-year-old has been feeling the weight of the world. He's been feeling the pressure of the world. He's been performing in school, working really hard, very motivated to get A's. And don't get me wrong, school motivation is important and crucial, and I'm happy to see it. But performing just to get an A can become very exhausting and very limiting. So he's feeling like he has to get the A at school. He's feeling like he has to bring the A home. If he brings home a B, he doesn't feel good enough. He doesn't feel like his family is meeting him with a sense of pride and acceptance. He's performing in clubs and groups. He's active in Boy Scouts. He has to perform for that. He has to show up. He has to be a leader at Boy Scouts. So there's all these pressures coming from so many outside sources. And he doesn't feel like he has a lot of choice in any of these. He is expected to show up. He is expected to perform at a high level in all of these places of his life. He's expected to have friends and maintain those friendships. And most of these are external factors that are bringing pressure to him, in which he's not feeling like there's a lot of choice. At this point, he can't choose to go to Scouts. He can't choose to go to church. He can't choose what type of school he's in. These are pressures coming from family. And of course, these pressures are all well-meaning, but when the teen or the child is not on board, the engagement is low, and the struggle for power becomes real. So with this particular student, I saw a huge shift. So in the spring semester, things kind of tend to lighten up around schools. Teachers add a lot of projects that have more choice. And this particular client was allowed to choose a project of his own to express his meaning in whatever way he wanted. So he was writing a movie script. And in this opportunity, he became so alive, so animated. You could tell, was really feeling in his authentic self and in his authentic identity. And during this time of choice in his academics, the behavior at home really started to change. So instead of isolating, instead of refusing to come to dinner, instead of using curse words with his parents, becoming easily frustrated, treating his younger brother with just bullying, honestly, bullying his younger brother, during this time of the project, there was a total transformation. He wanted to share the project with his family. He wanted to teach his brother what he was doing with script writing. He was really proud because he was making choices and he felt empowered. He felt his own power and was using it in a way that was productive and in a way that was intentional. So this story brings about a lot of factors and a lot of things that I'd like to talk about. Because many children feel confined in their schools, they become overtired. So then they're coming home and they're already overtired. They've already felt confined and shut down. And so you're seeing, as a parent, the shutdown emerging at home. They don't want to follow the expectations. They don't want to do their chores. And when we're continuing as parents to ask those things of them, we're getting the same feedback. We're getting the same shutdown. They're tired. They don't feel power. And they don't feel like they have a choice. So the answer is no. The answer is disrespect. And the answer is then causing hurt for you as the parent, right? You're feeling like you're losing power. So then you're reaching a place of overwhelm and maybe even paralysis. So I'd like to talk about, at this time of their lives, teens and tweens are searching for their power. They're testing it. And when they are using disrespect in the home, they might actually be getting what they want. So this is creating a patterning in which they're going to keep presenting disrespect because ultimately you're tired. You're going to let them go out. You're going to let them skip the family event. You're going to let them choose to be with their friends instead of taking care of the chores they need to do at home, right? So we're letting go because we're tired. And so the teen is getting that patterning of when I am disrespectful, I get what I want. And that's the kind of system that their brain starts to believe is their reality. But this can be changed. We can create the space and the time for them to make mindful choices and intentional behavior that won't be centered on disrespect. So I'd like to talk about too what's happening in teens' brains. So the prefrontal cortex is not fully developed. So this is where we do our logical thinking, our critical thinking, our problem solving. It's the most rational part of our brain. So because it's not fully developed, many teenagers, until we help them create new pathways for mindfulness and for intention, they might be operating more from an emotional place. And if we as parents are operating from an emotional place, we are even pushing them into a place where it is more likely that they're going to act from an emotional place. So to be mindful can be very challenging at this age. And I'm not trying to overgeneralize and say that we don't have mindful teens. I know many mindful teens. But in the heat of the moment, in an emotional time, it is more likely that the teens will use this sort of disrespectful and less cognizant type behavior, right? Less aware, less kind behavior when the emotions are high. So please keep in mind that the science behind this is real, that their brain is not fully developed and that some of the gaps are there naturally, developmentally, and we can just help them build those pathways. But we need to take time. It is a process. Something else I'd like to talk about is that even when children are pushing for their power and they are doing things like eye rolling, they're trying to steamroll you, they're trying to threaten you, they actually are feeling rather limited, right? They're not feeling like they have space. So although you might feel like they are winning as the child and you're losing as the parent, they don't actually feel a lot of power in the root of this. And they're not feeling free, they're not patient, they're not calm, they're really, really pushing. And so try to reframe this for yourself as a parent. Try to know that it's not a win or lose. It's not about who is going to get the power in the situation. What we ultimately want to look at is empowerment, and empowerment for everyone. So we want to make sure that we are providing choices and that our young people have the opportunity to make choices. So the solution to this is taking the time, taking the space. So going back to the 15-year-old that I talked about earlier, there was a crucial moment where his parents had some traction to actually talk to him about what he was going on, what he was going through, what he was thinking and feeling as he had choice in his school project, and how they could use that as leverage in the home. So how they could create more choice, how they could let him make his own choices and have more power to feel more empowered. So this is something that I'd like to offer to everybody listening. I'd like to offer that creating opportunity for choice and dialogue. This is space. This is the space that we need to give to our children. Space, it needs to be more organic. It can't be on a timer. It can't be you have to clean your room in the next hour or you're not going out with your friends. Sometimes those consequences do come into play, but we also have to make the additional and intentional time and space to have these dialogues with our young people. So I am so curious about how this search for power has come up in your family. So when and where do you see your middle schooler or your high schooler testing their power, searching for their power? When does your authority feel threatened as a parent? Like, what has that experience been like for you? And let's talk about these patterns, because in order to create the space for the new patterns, for the mindfulness, and for the intentional behavior, we really need to talk about what's currently happening. So I'd love to hear back from you. I'd love for you to comment below about that. And let's just keep in mind, please, everybody, that these patterns can change, they can grow. Your teens, and even yourself as a parent, and those of us that are supporters of families, we can continue to initiate new patterns in our brains. It's never too late and it's never too early. This is why we take space to do it. So I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to talk with you all about this, about what you're seeing. And also I'd love to dig in deeper about how do we actually create this space and what does it mean. So comment below with your questions and have a great day.